Well, good morning. This is Plant Smart Living with Farmer Fred. Really glad you could join me today out here in the vegetable garden. You know, it's a beautiful day here in Pennsylvania. Zone 6, it's late spring. You know, all my summer plants are planted. And so, you know, it's a good time to do question and answer. And so a subscriber by the name of Danielle Grandpa asks a really good question. They ask, Fred, this is a question about my compost. This is my first year of having a compost bin, so should I take and add all my compost to my plots in the fall? Lay it on or till it in, or should I wait until next spring and add my compost? As always, thanks for taking the time to teach and explain what you do. So that's a really great question, and thanks for that question, and I hope to do my best to answer that question for you. So thanks for joining me today out here in the vegetable garden. Well, certainly with your compost, you know, you want to make sure that it's well broken down. You know, if it's 3/4, I would say through the process, you probably could add it into your garden soil. You know, I would till it in a little bit. You know, that's going to help the soil microbes break it down, being that it's going to be mixed into the soil. Like every fall, I add leaves to my garden, you know, and I try to mix them in with the soil using my garden fork. And so, you know, come springtime, late spring, you know, those soil microbes will have broken down most of those leaves by the time, you know, summer season starts, you know. And so, but for instance, I also buy my composted leaf mulch from Barnside Compost, and they make huge piles of that, and they bring it up to a certain temperature for a certain period of time, and that, you know, they'll deliver some compost for me here in the early spring, and so that compost is all ready to add to my garden beds. I top all my beds off with 2 to 3 inches of that compost. Now, if your compost was already broken down to that point, you could just add it in the springtime, but certainly you don't want to add anything in the early fall, because you know, when things are piled up or in a 3-bin system, and if you mix it up properly with the amount of carbon and nitrogen, and you know, and it brings up to the right temperature, you know, those materials are going to break down a lot quicker. But I would say if it's again, like I mentioned earlier, about 3/4 through the process, you probably could add them into the couple inches of your soil. I think that would be probably the best thing to do. And also, you know, as I mentioned earlier, I do lay a 2 or 3 inch layer of compost on the top of my garden beds, and so, you know, that's nice fresh leaf mulch. I also amend that with my alfalfa pellets and my soy meal that I add to my leafy greens. But you know, the nice thing about that is that layer there, as the rain filters down through, that kind of creates like a compost tea, you know. As those soils become wet, you know, they'll just feed those nutrients to the plants. And so, or you could also add just compost around each plant, you know, if you don't have a lot of compost. That's just another good way of making your compost last a lot longer. Well, anyhow, I hope that was able to answer your question. And so if you have any questions or comments about this video, feel free to leave them in the section below. You can also visit us at plantsmartliving.com. And there you can learn more about gardening, and also how you can reclaim your health by adopting a whole food, plant-based lifestyle. Well, anyhow, I hope you have a wonderful day today. So until next time, this is Plant Smart Living with Farmer Fred.